Hold on 1 second. 1 second. I'm going to create a highlight real quick. In terms of voting rights, and I wanted to talk about this a little bit. We have the recurring refrain from a lot of people is either I'm in a blue state or I'm in a red state, and it's already said, and my vote doesn't really affect anything. Never mind the fact that it absolutely does affect the lower rung state houses, those kind of roles, because people are less hardline about those things usually, and so there's a little more room to move on those votes. But also, again, you create a mandate or you undermine the mandate of the other side by stacking your vote against theirs. So they recognize that even if instead of winning by 5% or 8% or 12%, they won by 3%, it is different for them, and they make different calculations the next time they want to get elected based on what they're going to do in office. If there's a clear majority that they have, they don't really have to care what the rest of their constituents think. So it's very important to get out in what you would consider a safe district, even if it's safe for the opposite vote that you would have. But I really genuinely believe that in a country where not everybody is afforded the same right to vote, that pissing away your vote is spitting in their faces. The other thing, too, is that every person who's ever died in the military sacrificed their lives, their limbs, their brains, their ability to walk again, move again, feed themselves again. All those people, everyone buried at Arlington, all those grave sites that everybody pretends to care about, on Memorial Day and Veterans Day, all those, you are dishonoring those people by not voting, doing that baseline level thing, doing the act of voting and actually being a participant in this democracy, because that's more than anything what they fought and died for, your ability to do that. And so to let it go is disgusting. And this applies, I don't care what your reasoning is, because there's, believe me, that for every progressive who decries corporate Democrats and doesn't vote because they believe that they believe as much in the Rothschilds globalist mythology as the Alex Jones libertarian angle of the right wing does, that if I vote, they'll facial recognition will let them know that I'm there, and then they'll shut my militia down. That crowd. That you have a responsibility, I believe, in this country to vote. And if you let that vote slip, you are saying to everybody who fought for that right to vote, and everyone who is fighting that day, that their struggle means nothing to you. And that's immoral, and it's disgusting, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I have no problem saying that. Now, I feel the same way on a personal level about what I would consider protest votes, except in the in the most egregious of circumstances. Where it's like a dead guy, it's mayor, and your choice is between a right-wing militia member, the Democrat who died 6 weeks before the election, and you decide to write in a horse because they took the Dem's name off because he's dead. That kind of stuff. Everywhere else, though, unless you are assured that your person will win, you must vote for the better person who will get in office and get closer to your goals at all times. That the circumstance we are in is climbing a ladder. There is no leapfrogging. You do not take advantage of I can let this one slide. Not ever. Until the margin of people who believe what you believe, that are in office, that are that represent what you believe, is so high that you can believe you can take it an order of magnitude further by voting. That's my personal belief. I believe protest votes are awful and a waste of time and damaging, and partly responsible for what the situation we're in right now with Donald Trump and child separations and the national debt doubling in the next year, and them using that as an excuse to come after Social Security and Medicare, stopping Medicaid expansion, attempting to kill the ACA, undoing things like the Iran deal, where you're one step closer to limiting how many countries have nukes in the world. this footsie with North Korea, all that stuff is enabled largely not because of the other side. They were always going to vote the way they were going to go, but by the people who were on the margins and gave up their right to vote or pissed it away. And I think that's immoral. And there is no convincing me otherwise. And you can either disagree with me and get all angry, or you can take that and know inside that you're guilty, or you can take that guilt and try to right it by making restitution and actually trying to do some good. And if you think it's about, you know, moving the Democratic Party to the left to where you go, then by all means work on a campaign and get elected. I'm 100% for it. I feel like there's so much value in more voices. Ocasio-Cortez, I think, is a great example of that very thing, of money where your mouth is, caring about the electorate. So anyways, that's my little diatribe on that. But what it rolls down is that there's no option to voting because of what it says about you morally and what it says about your country materially. You can never complain that we're a country of yuck of any sort if you have not voted at any point or allowed your vote to be co-opted or pissed it away in any format, or not voted while watching other people be denied the right to vote. At the very least, you're saying, look at those people standing in line for 3 hours, some of them getting handed provisional ballots. Some of them will never get the chance to actually vote. So I'm going to go vote just to make sure that our shared values get a voice today, because I know mine will count. And voting, by the way, is easy for the majority of people in the country. For the majority of people in this country, you have the ability to vote early, to vote at the Secretary of State's office or at any of the big at the mayor's office. There's different offices. Like in LA, it's a bit of a drive, but you can do it in person beforehand. You can vote absentee. You can fill it out, put it back in the envelope that's free, send it right back. It is easy, especially compared to like ink penning your finger and sticking it on a purple tab to show that you voting in someplace like Iraq and then getting killed because you voted. Like the fact that you would, we have such an app mentality about how easy stuff should be. We're like petulant people in a restaurant complaining about the service when we don't realize the volume of food we are consuming compared to the rest of the world and taking all of that for granted. Americans tend to vote like they eat in a restaurant. They have, most of the time a mild disregard for the amount of service that they are provided with, the volume of food they are provided with, at the price that they are able to get it, compared to the rest of the world, and the expenditure of effort and time and, in danger to themselves, just to get the chance to vote. And we're like, well, my state's going to go that way anyways, so why bother? Or, I don't really like who I'm presented with, or I'm not inspired, that whole crowd. Forget it. I don't buy it. You're never going to convince me otherwise. This is a deeply held ethic that is meaningful to me as a person, and it is more of a meaningful ethic to me than your "I don't feel like it" is to you. My belief in the power of effort will always beat that feeling of laziness or disdain for the process. Because I view it as a calling and a worthwhile thing, and I do not believe in letting people die for nothing just because I'm too lazy. And I'm talking to you millennials, because statistically you're not going to vote. And again, I'm not even talking to you if you're a Democrat or you're going to vote Democrat or whatever. But you piss away your vote and ignore it or don't inform yourself and vote meaningfully, the act of doing that, you will regret 6 years down the line when, you know, you're in your midterm after the following election. Like, I should have voted my beliefs. And so anyway, so that's enough of that rant. I just think it's important. Vote.org is the site I think you guys should go to. Make sure you're registered, get your absentee